All right, we're back with another 2021 MLB draft team preview. Up next, as we wrap up the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays, the pesky Tampa Bay Rays, one of the smartest organizations in all of baseball. Chaim Bloom has moved on, but they're still one of the more data savvy, more analytical organizations, particularly when it comes to their drafts, Joe. So they're always a fun one to talk about. As we dive in here, Joe, I'll kick it over to you. What direction do you think the Devil Rays go this year? Or the Rays, excuse me. We're going back.
No, Devil, bring it
Devil
back.
Rays. No more Devils. Get rid of the Devil. The
Bring
Rays,
it back.
what direction do you think the Rays are going in 2021?
Again, if I knew the Rays, if I knew what direction the Rays were going to go, I would have a much better job. But here's the thing. The Rays, Chaim Bloom has moved on. They've got a new guy running the show, but I think it's still going to be the Rays. I think you're still going to look for guys that have versatility, guys that can hit, and you're going to look for big data. I think they're in a pretty good spot in terms of position players. They've gone out and they've gotten Gavin Williams, they've grabbed Greg Jones, and that goes with Xavier Edwards, and that goes with Vidal Brujan and Wander Franco. They've got so many good athletes that can fill up the middle holes that I think you're probably now at a point where you got to start replenishing the farm on the mound. For me, I think they're going to go the high school route just because it's a pretty decent year for high school righties at the top, and it's a really good year for high school righties at the top with big data. And there's three that stick out for me right away. The first one, and I know this guy's going to be expensive, but I think he makes a lot of sense to the Rays, and that's Peter Hubick. He is out of Maryland. He's a Wake Forest commit. He's 93 to 96. Big riding fastball. A good frame that needs to add weight. He's got the potential for a plus breaking ball that flashes plus at times. Huge depth on this curveball. We've had some different evaluators say he kind of reminds them a little bit of what Justin Verlander was way back when. You obviously never want to throw that kind of comparison on a kid, but it's that kind of stuff. And the other guy that makes sense is Thatcher Hurd, who California kid. He's 90 to 93. We've been waiting for him to take that next step in terms of velo, and he hasn't quite done that yet, but huge spin rates on the slider, huge spin rates on the fastball, really comfortable delivery. I think he makes a lot of sense. The third guy that I want to bring up, not a righty, Anthony Solometo. Jeff, we talked to this guy in January or February, and we've talked to 85, 90 of these draft guys. Solometo might legitimately be the most impressive kid that we've talked to all year. And what he does that fits the Rays is he's a unicorn. He's unique. He's part Madison Bumgarner. He's part Mackenzie Gore. He's funky. And I think the Rays really like that sort of thing. They look for unique arm actions, unique arm slots. I think Anthony Solometo makes a lot of sense. But, they do pick at 34 again. They pick 6 picks later, so they can get a little creative, maybe go with a college guy here too. What are you thinking? Where do you think they go?
Yeah, no, I actually think you hit the nail on the head. It's going to be one of these more interesting high school arms with good data. They grabbed Bitsko last year. That wasn't that different. They grabbed Alika with the next pick when they were sort of picking in the comp round, doing the same thing this year. It wouldn't shock me if they even sort of doubled up on interesting looks from high school or prep lefties. What if they go Solometo, and then with the second pick, they go with Gage Jump? Another guy that's really interesting. I know, obviously, the height is something that's gotten knocked a little bit. We don't care as much because it allows him, even with it over the top slot, to have relatively low release that gives him a relatively flat VAA, allows the fastball to play up with a cutter, some of the pitches that he's throwing there. I think he's an interesting look, and another guy that gives them an interesting look. I don't think the Rays care so much about relief risk, at least as much as other teams do. See what they've done with, Exhibit A, Shane McClenahan, now up in the majors. He's thrown 4 to 5 innings most of his starts, but they're okay with that. They kind of did that with Blake Snell, almost to his chagrin, until he goes to San Diego, and of course, maybe
Brian Yarbrough.
Yeah,
same thing.
But I think they tend to go after that. They're not scared of a guy that maybe can give them a really unique look for 4 or 5 innings. And another point I wanted to make on the Rays, this is an organization that has to draft and develop pitching because they can't really go on to the free agent market. There aren't going to be too many Charlie Mortons they're going to be able to steal away like they did a couple of years ago. And even then, it's going to be a one-year deal before he gets a bigger payday. So I think for an organization like the Rays, they have to hit on some of these young pitching prospects, whether that's as trade pieces or as potentially controllable players at the major league level. They're going to allow them to keep that payroll low, but the performance high. And I just honestly think that's why they go analytical. That's why they go after the data. They're trying to find and overturn some stones that maybe other teams aren't looking at. And that's kind of the Rays way. So it wouldn't shock me if they go with a couple of these lefties, a couple of those prep righties that you mentioned. They're going to go with somebody that has, some interesting data. And I don't know if there's necessarily a college arm in that range that sort of pops there. Maybe Will Bednar. I don't know if Bednar is available when they pick. He might go a few picks before them. They might miss out on him. He's one name that kind of comes to mind. I don't know if there's any other college guys for you, at least in the first round, that you think Tampa could go after.
Yeah, there's not a lot. There's a couple of guys that, maybe make a little bit of sense. I know we've talked about Gunnar Hoglund. He's got good data, but does he make it to 28? I tend to not think he does. I think Gavin Williams, again, we talked to him a little bit about the New York Yankees out of East Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huge velo, big body. I think he's a unique look. I think maybe if you're looking to save some money, but also get a really unique pitch arsenal that isn't high octane, I think Doug Nikhazy is a guy that, maybe you look into to save a little bit of cash and take there in the 28 or 34 slot. But if we know the Rays like we think we know the Rays, they're going to go with a really young, exciting talent at 28 or 34 or both. And I tell you what, if they ended up with Solometo and Gage Jump in the same draft, you'd be hard pressed to find a more fun draft. Like at that point, 34, game over. This is the most fun draft in the entire class. So yeah. I love that. I think those are two really, really exciting arms.
There you go. I think you have it there. Those are going to be our picks. Pick it and stick it for the Tampa Bay Rays. Anthony Solometo with the first, and with the second comp round pick, we're going to go with Gage Jump. Thanks for tuning in again. We'll be back with the next division.